Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Anaheim Electronics Memorial Program. My name is Maki, and I work in the Public Relations Department. We are delighted that you're interested in our products. Today, I'll be introducing Elio. It's an emergency rescue craft designed to protect the lives of Spacenoid citizens. It's a high-performance unit equipped with a fully automated atmospheric ray entry system and a distress signal transmitter. Oh! Is something the matter? Gundam Elio, you say? That's a mobile suit developed by Shin-C, a company based on MERCURY. I see. In that case, let's take a look at the Gundam Elio today. By the way, are you wondering why we have data on the Gundam Elio? We collaborate with organizations outside our company to contribute to society by developing even more advanced technology. That's how we came to possess data on the Elio as well. I'd recommend not looking too deeply into the details, though. Gundam Elio is enhanced and modified later on, which changes its appearance and performance. Today, however, let's focus on the standard version of Gundam Elio. We would love you to support us by joining our membership scheme for just 99 cents a month. We are committed to enriching your lives and helping to create a more peaceful world. As a thank you, you'll receive a name badge and exclusive comment stamps. Now then, let's begin our research. To understand Gundam Elio, it is first necessary to understand a substance called Permet. This material was discovered during the era when humanity was expanding throughout the solar system. It is a metallic compound derived from permetium. Permet can be controlled by introducing elementary particles into it. When dispersed in particle form, Permet also has the property of sharing information with other Permet particles. Revolutionary technologies such as Permet propulsion, mobile suit control systems, and the medical technology known as GUN were developed by taking advantage of this characteristic. GUN technology functions by allowing Permet to flow into the human body and link with mechanical systems. This process of linking the human body and machines is called a Permet link. Consequently, even prosthetic limbs can gain movement and sensory functions. Permet is an incredible technology, but it also carries the risk of a dangerous phenomenon known as a data storm. This occurs when the amount of data exchanged between Permet particles increases abnormally. As a result, the particles lose coordination and begin to behave erratically. This generates enormous heat, which can cause damage to both the human body and machinery. The mobile suit control system that uses this GUN technology for military purposes is called the GUN format. Mobile suits equipped with the GUN format and enhanced performance are referred to as Gundams. Gundam is simply a generic term for Gundam. Gundam Elio is essentially a GUN format compatible mobile suit that has been given the name Elio. The GUN format delivers superior performance compared to older mobile suits. However, executing advanced and complex operations requires a large quantity of information to be exchanged between Permet particles. Unlike small devices such as prosthetics, large machines like mobile suits tend to trigger data storms much more frequently. To address this, technology has been developed to regulate the amount of information being handled. This is known as the Permet score. Using a higher Permet score enables a Gundam to perform better, but naturally, the pilot will be exposed to a more intense data storm. Conversely, a lower Permet score reduces the burden on the pilot. This concludes our discussion of the relationship between Permet and the Gundam format. This forms the basis for understanding Gundam Ariel. Ariel is the mobile suit that Suletta Mercury brought with her when she enrolled at the Asticastia school. It is officially registered not as a Gundam, but as a standard mobile suit. This is because mobile suits using the Gundam format were considered extremely dangerous under production and use had been banned. However, Ariel is actually a Gundam. It was secretly manufactured by Prospera, the CEO of Shin-C. Prospera had inherited the technology of the dismantled Axis Corporation. The Gundam Ariel was created using the Gundam Lubris, which was originally produced by Axis as its base unit. Its overall specifications are similar to those of the mobile suits widely used during that era. However, the components related to the frame and systems have evolved to such an innovative degree that even the students responsible for its maintenance are astonished. The remote weapons, known as gun bits, are controlled via the Gundam format. However, officially, it is being applied for as a system that operates using a new type of drone technology developed based on the conventional parametering system. As mentioned previously, however, Ariel is a Gundam. In reality, it is a mobile suit that operates through the Gundam format. Naturally, the data storm generated by the Gundam format also occurs in Ariel. Nevertheless, even when Suletta activates a high-level Permet score, she does not sustain serious physical injury. This is because the Reaper children, known as the Children of the Coven, disperse and absorb the data generated by the storm. Reaper children are humans created using specific genetic material. Ariel has 11 Reaper children built into it. These Reaper children are assigned to remote terminals, known as bit staves. It is unclear how the Reaper children are integrated into the bit staves. The only confirmed information is that they are incorporated as biological data. At the very least, it is clear that they do not pilot the machine from a cockpit. For Gundam Ariel, the Permet score is an extremely important factor. As mentioned previously, a higher Permet score enables the mobile suit to perform more advanced actions. In the world of which from MERCURY, mobile suits are equipped with a component called a shell unit. These black, monitor-like parts are the shell units. The shell unit acts as a control terminal, enabling the transmission and processing of information between the pilot and the mobile suit. Using the shell unit makes it easier to manage the large amounts of data generated by the mobile suit's movements and weapon usage. Surprisingly, the shell unit itself is a technology separate from the Gundam format. It is also installed in non-Gundam units, such as Daryuhodi, so be sure to take a closer look. However, when installed in a Gundam, its behavior differs from that of other mobile suits. The color of the shell unit's light changes depending on the Permet score level. Now, let's examine the Permet score values. We'll focus on the levels used during Season 1, in which the standard version of Gundam Ariel appears. Generally, the more advanced, precise, and powerful the actions become as the Permet score increases. With the Permet score of 2, a Gundam is capable of practical performance in normal combat. Practical may sound modest, but even at score 2, the pilot can control the machine as if it were their own limbs. This is impressive considering that standard mobile suits are operated using control sticks and pedals. Then, by activating score 3, it becomes possible to use remote terminals, known as bits. This is achieved through information exchange via Permet dispersed throughout space. At this point, the pilot is subjected to an extremely intense burden. Belmirier is shocked when she observes Elio controlling its gun bits. The load at this stage would be enough to instantly kill an average pilot. When reaching Scope 4, a Gundam demonstrates astonishing mobility. In the world of which from Mercury, the burden on the pilot at Permet Scope 4 is extremely severe. For this reason, Permet Scope 4 is considered the upper limit of practical use. Additionally, when Permet score exceeds 4, the red bruise-like patterns that appear on the pilot's face change too. At Permet Scope 4 and above, larger marks emerge. Scope 4 truly represents the maximum Permet score that the human body can endure. However, it was theoretically possible to increase the Permet score even further. In Episode 9, Ariel reaches Permet score 6. Some viewers may not clearly remember Permet score 5. So, let's use another mobile suit as an example here. Gundam Caliban, for example. It appears during the climax of the story and plays a pivotal role in the final battle. When the Caliban's shell unit emits a red glow, it is operating at Permet score 5. Since this state has also been released as a gun pro model, many of you may recognize it. The burden placed on the pilot at score 5, which exceeds the practical limits of what is theoretically possible, is beyond imagination. In the story, Suletta pilots the Caliban while risking her life. In exchange for this immense burden, Caliban is able to fight numerous enemies in battle. This is the level of performance achieved at score 5. Then, there is Permet score 6. The maximum Permet score achieved by the standard Gundam Ariel is 6. At score 6, a Gundam can affect not only itself, but also its surroundings. One particularly noteworthy ability is the power to control electronic devices via the Permet link. This is effective even against weapons known as antidote. Antidote can interfere with the Permet link of the gun format. However, Ariel at score 6 can nullify the effects of antidote. It can control military weapons based on Permet technology. As a built-in feature of a weapon, this represents an extraordinary combat capability. However, this is not the only feature of score 6. At score 6, Suletta begins to behave as if she is speaking to someone. Of course, she is alone in the cockpit. This state is of great importance to Prospera, the creator of Elio. As she watches Elio reach score 6, Prospera sheds tears. I'll cover even higher levels of the Permet score in another program. Now, let's take a look at the weapons equipped on the Elio. The first is the head-mounted Balkan gun. Its most notable feature is that it is a beam Balkan. Rather than firing metal bullets, it continuously fires projectiles formed from beam energy. In the world in which Ariel operates, using metal bullets in space is considered a universal taboo among humanity. This is because metal projectiles fired in space do not slow down and will continue traveling until they collide with something. As this can lead to serious accidents, the use of beam weaponry in space has become widely accepted. This is why Ariel is equipped with a beam Balkan. Next is the beam saber. This is mounted on the backpack. A very small detail is that when in use, the base moves to adjust to an angle that makes it easier to grab. The setting materials also depict a sensor installed on the grip. It seems that Ariel's beam saber does not use a system where it connects to the palm via a connector. Does that mean the energy is supplied by a battery built into the hilt rather than by the body? The exact details are unclear. In the world of which from MERCURY, powerful wireless charging systems based on Permet technology are also widespread. It is possible that this technology is being used to power the beam saber. Additionally, the beam saber appears to enable highly precise energy control. This function is demonstrated in the story Creator Planet, which is available on the official Witch from MERCURY website. In one scene, someone is trapped in a collapse during excavation work and the beam saber is used to rescue them. Suletta lowers the output of the beam saber and performs movements as precise as surgery to save a life. She cuts only the cockpit armor of a work machine, carrying out an extremely delicate operation without harming the person inside. Next is the beam rifle. When not in use, it can be stowed by attaching it to the backpack. It is equipped with a small thruster that allows it to detach from the backpack without the need for manual intervention. However, this thruster is only intended for moving the rifle from the backpack, so it cannot be used like a bit. It can also generate a beam of energy from the muzzle, which can be used as a beam blade. Furthermore, attaching a bit to the muzzle enhances its performance. This improves firing accuracy and enables it to fire beams with a higher output than in its normal state. Finally, let's take a look at the gun bits. According to the official setting materials, Mechanics and World, the name gun bit is actually a nickname. The formal name of each individual unit is bit stave. Ariel is equipped with 11 bit staves. When multiple bit staves are referred to as a single system, that system is called an escutcheon. Each bit stave is equipped with a beam cannon. They also have a mechanism that generates a field capable of blocking enemy attacks. First, let's focus on the beam cannons. Beam fire is emitted from the muzzles installed on each bit stave. In the Universal Century series, many bit-type weapons do not have particularly high attack power. However, Ariel's bit staves are notable for their extremely high firepower. In the world of which from MERCURY, there is a mode that reduces beam output for training and school duels. In this mode, the beams are characterized by their green color. Nevertheless, even in this low output mode, Ariel's bit staves are powerful enough to cut through the Lanza's body. Another distinctive feature is that they operate according to a different principle to that seen in the Universal Century series. In the Universal Century, bits and funnels are controlled by the pilot's brainwaves. Consequently, this places a heavy burden on the pilot. If the bit staves were controlled directly by brainwaves, an enormous data storm would be generated. Belmirier estimates that the massive influx of Permet caused by Ariel's movements would instantly kill the pilot. However, each bit stave contains an embedded Reaper child. By having the Reaper children distribute and absorb the data storm's burden, Suletta avoids taking damage. This can be described as a state in which 11 pilots are individually controlling the bits. This differs significantly from the bits seen in the Universal Century series. As previously mentioned, the bit staves can generate a field that blocks beam weapons. Combining all 11 bit staves into a shield-like formation generates an even stronger defensive field. This formation is known as the composite gun bit shield. It is unclear whether this defensive field can withstand physical impacts as well as beams. In the story, Dario is sphericalized with the shield, but is repelled. It is is unclear whether this means that it can defend itself against physical attacks, or whether the spear was simply deflected by the repulsive force of the beam interaction. By attaching the bit staves to Ariel's body, it can shift into a state known as Beton form. In this state, the main body can supply energy to the bit staves. According to mechanics and world, both electrical power and propellant can be supplied. In the world of which from Mercury, metallic matter generated from Permet is used as propellant. In other words, Ariel can convert Permet into metallic material and supply it to the bit staves. This is an incredibly advanced mechanism. This form is not just for resupply, though. Even in this state, the bit staves thrusters can be used. Their defensive fields are also operational. This enhances both Ariel's mobility and its defensive capabilities. The Escashiyan is a highly versatile weapon system, offering overwhelming offensive power, defensive strength, and a wide range of functions. However, it does have one weakness. This lies in the fact that it is operated by Ripley children. If they refuse to operate it, the bit staves will not activate. Furthermore, the data stone will affect the pyre directly, causing severe damage. They can also be disabled by devices known as antidote, which are designed to shut down Gundam systems. However, when Ariel reaches Permet Score 6, it can override and nullify the antidote system. In fact, later scenes show that a Permet Score 4 can disable the detoxification system. At Permet Score 6, control is gained over the antidote system itself. The reason why Ariel chose to take control of antidote rather than simply nullify it in episode 9 remains unclear. No clear explanation is provided in the official materials. However, considering that the Ripley children have personalities and a sister-like relationship with Suletta, this could be interpreted as an attempt to overwhelm the opponent with an undeniable difference in power, following the attempt to harm their family. Ultimately, this point is open to each viewer's interpretation. That covers the basic information about Ariel. In episode 6, an additional piece of equipment called the Flight Unit is introduced. This is not official equipment but something that was handmade by Suletti's fellow students. It was created by modifying parts sold by a company called Mirasol. It consists of a central thruster with additional thrusters attached to either side. Coincidentally, this adding thrusters on both sides structure is the same configuration seen in the Ariel rebuild. If we interpret this as the students fully understanding Ariel's characteristics and designing parts with the appropriate structure resulting in the same configuration as the Ariel rebuild, it becomes quite interesting. Also, to equip this flight unit, the beam sabers mounted on the shoulders were removed. They were then relocated to the lower section of the flight unit. It is also noteworthy that they successfully combined parts from another company's product. They may be students, but this clearly demonstrates that they are highly skilled mechanics. Furthermore, when the components installed on the sides of the flight unit are deployed, it enters high maneuver mode. This gives it even greater mobility. Despite its name, it is unclear whether the flight unit can operate in a gravity environment. In the story, it is used in space and ultimately destroyed by Gundam 4 Act. That concludes the information on the standard form of Gundam Ariel. I'm planning to create another program covering the rebuilt version, so please look forward to it. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I'll see you again in the next program.